All right. So today's presentation will be focusing on how we're going to boost language proficiency and digital literacy in the English classes. Welcome, Fabiola. So we're going to be first starting on our outline. Give me a second. I hope we can. Let me turn my video off. Oh, there you go. So um, today we're going to talk about the intended audience for our levels and grades and the general uses of the different series. We're going to talk about typical unit and chapters, tools and strategies for each of them, sorry. We'll be basically focusing on differences in different learning settings. And the idea is to together work, to discuss what might be the best suit for your students. So just bear with me for a second. Looks like I have a little bit of delay on the presentation. I'm just pressing the buttons and okay. So we'll also be discussing assessment with every series and the different ways you can find supporting documents for your titles. All right. So before we get started with discussing a specific series, I just wanted to mention that we also have noticed that with Voces that there are changes in teaching because now there are different new challenges that are taking place. And, after the pandemic, they have been accelerated. One of them is increased access to information for our students. There is also preference for collaborative learning through technology. The role of the teacher is now a guide. There is more need for personalized learning, and the importance of time management is also essential in this new context. Another thing that we also wanted to point out before discussing different series is that our learners, for the reasons that we mentioned before, um, have specific characteristics, especially those that are young. They are the first real digital natives, meaning that they don't conceive the world without any device. So we need to also tackle and uh, focus on those skills. There is also very strong preference for convenience, accessing information faster. Their attention span is now shorter. These are social learners that prefer to interact with other peers or other people to learn. They crave for learning. They want to know. They have so many questions, and they can get the answers really quickly. They also understand learning and they can learn easily with images. And there is a preference for hands-on learning. So we're going to address these characteristics with our materials. The first title that we are going to discuss is ESL 1. With ESL 1, you have 4 levels. The intended audience for ESL 1, 2, 3, and 4 are teenagers. We have 4 levels. Um, so we would be suggesting using this series for grades that are middle school and in high school too. Um, that would make a transition to students who are just entering or getting to know the United States or just arriving would be comfortable using this series. The general uses of the series, basically, in this case, we designed it for students that are learning English as a second language in an English-speaking community. We are targeting also students who are planning to visit or live in the United States. are interested in exploring the American culture because we share a lot of information in relation to the American culture. There are thematic lessons for this series that focus on key terms and grammar. We also focus on conversation. We provide scaffolded integrated tasks for each of the different activities that we have designed for this series. We also include one integrated and comprehensible story per unit that can be used for making students connect with different events and discuss how that can be something meaningful for them. There is also cultural exploration of the USA, as I've mentioned before, and we use language functionally. So we use the vocabulary and the grammar to support a communicative need. Basically, we help students have all the linguistic and communicative tools they need, for example, to achieve a specific task. Say, find a home, find directions, interact with people to ask specific type of information. This is a snapshot of a specific chapter. So you will see here we have, oops, I don't want to do that. This is basically we have for ESL, we have 10 chapters per level. You have a chapter theme. You can see on the slides. Chapter 1 is my body. So we'll be focusing on that theme with vocabulary and expressions that will help students achieve that. Chapter 2 will be on injury and illness, and so on and so forth. So you will see here the 10 chapters, and we also have a glossary at the end that will also help teachers and students review the vocabulary that they are covering in a specific class. We also present key concepts for students to have a clear idea what topic they're going to be covering per unit. We practice the 4 skills. We practice listening, reading, writing, and speaking. And as mentioned before, we also provide cultural insights of the USA. So this is just a snapshot of a chapter. Now I'm going to dive deeper into the units. So we said that we have 10 units, and I'm going to dive deeper now into the components of each unit that will help them support, like we said before, students' communicative competence, focusing on grammar and vocabulary while we explore the United States culture. So here you have, first you have the topic that is your neighborhood, and then we'll cover these subtopics, home, furniture. Then we present these topics in different slideshows. And then we have practice activities that are the try activities, watching and learning. You will see the story that I mentioned, that I said there's 1 story per unit. We do have our panorama section that allows students to explore a 3D view of specific place in the US. We also have our authentic materials section to get students more comfortable interacting in the English language, the cultural section, key terms, and assessment. This is for every ESL series that you will see that we have already discussed. So what are the tools and strategies that we incorporate here? The first one is, like I said before, how we use language functionally. So we have scaffolded activities. You will see, for example, the neighborhood on this one, on the upper one. How how students also will be able to acquire new expressions easily because the activities are scaffolded. You have definitions, examples on how to use these expressions in context. And you also have comprehensive practice to use the new expressions communicatively as presented on this one. They can look and write, like we said before. These are parts of our You Try activities that students can do. You also see that they integrate that with different types of questions in this case. And then you have other types of activities that are targeting how students will be using these new expressions. So now we're going to move into assessment and how we provide students with practice on communications, and we are using all different tools to support students' assessment. And the first one, you will see the assessments of specifically the vocabulary that students have learned throughout the unit. Students will be able to use them as part of a specific context and covering a specific topic. So that is very, very helpful for them. And also, you will see assessment because we focused on conversation. You will see assessment of the students recording different activities, and every productive activity, either done through speaking or writing, would be assessed by incorporating our rubrics. We have specific rubrics, but you can also add your own if you need to. You can edit our rubrics and personalize them to meet your students and your school's needs. Okay, so now I'm going to talk about our culture and connection sections and how we support with these sections. Students also instant crave for knowledge and they want to access information that they want to use. We in our authentic material sections, we provide up-to-date materials to explore authentic communication. We have culture and discover more ways to immerse our students in the American culture. This is an example of one of our panoramas that provides students a view of a specific place, and we also use thinking routines because we practice the think. What do you think? What do you want to do? And what questions you have about specific topic. So students will be using some thinking routines in that section. And then you have right here supporting documents that will basically provide all the different information you need to decide what type of level or series you want to use. This is a sample of ESL2. You will see the chapters, the topics that are covered, the different functions that students need, um, um, the topic cultures, the cultural information, and the story that we have. So I have made a short video here showing teachers where to go and find this information on our website. But also I have the QR codes for every specific unit. You see here that you have the scope and sequence, the vocabulary lists, the outline, and the rubrics. So here you have QR codes to access every specific level. So that is something that you might wanna do. And is there any questions in relation to the ESL series, Fabiola? Do you have any um, specific questions or something you might want to know?
Um, no, not necessarily. That was really good. So,
Okay. Do you have students using any, or do you have English students using this material or other types of materials?
it's all Spanish for me, but I just thought it was interesting to
Oh,
see the
okay.
perspective that we saw comes from. So,
Okay, that's great. So I'm gonna share now our ESL, our Storyscape series that is targeting middle and high schoolers. We have levels A1 and A2, and these are levels that we follow or we align with the Common European Framework, which is the type of framework that other countries use to learn English as a foreign language. So differently from ESL 1, 2, 3, and 4, we have level A1, which would be a level for beginners. Level A2 would be a level for um, basically designed to um, pre intermediate, and or some people call it also elementary. So we have beginners and elementary, and you can use it with grades 5th to 9. This is a recommendation, but older students have also used and are currently using our series. So it's, up to the teacher. What are the general uses of this series? This one, as I said before, this series is specifically designed for students who are learning English as a foreign language. It is also ideal for students who want to develop communicative competence by means of stories, because our Storyscape is uh, a story-based curriculum. We, by means of stories, we incorporate and introduce high-frequency expressions. We focus on communication of the four skills, but in a very integrated way. We also provide scaffolded integrated tasks. We include comprehensible stories, cultural exploration of also the USA, but other English-speaking countries, sorry. And we also support functional vocabulary. So this is also English teaching, but from a different type of perspective. So, typical chapter. We have here a typical chapter in our Storyscape contains 6 units per level. The stories are the springboard to connecting and introducing students to English. um, we use high frequency expressions, and the contents that we incorporate here are included in the Common European Framework levels. So, unit starts with a topic and a story-based program. We have 5 stories per unit. We practice the 4 skills. We also use, as I said before, oopsie, we use also cultural insights of English-speaking countries. And you can see here also a chapter. So we start the class with the overview of the unit, where teachers and students will see the goals, will see the stories that they will read throughout the unit. We have a can-do assessment for students to see where they are at before they start the unit. And then we have story 1, 2, 3, and 4 and 5, sorry, that also include pre and post reading activities supporting language communication. You also have the culture and connection sections, the grammar aspect to support specific grammar points, the vocabulary section also to support specific communicative and list of expressions that students need for that unit. We also include our assessments, and then we have a can-do checklist. I'll dive deeper into this in our next slides. So you will see here typical story, and this is on the top. You will see some of the illustrations for the stories. So like I said before, we start the story for first we start with the core vocabulary. We have our vocabulary lists, but we also have slideshows that incorporate new expressions. Then students will put those into practice in the pre-reading activities. We'll do the picture talk that is connected to the topic of the story. And then we're gonna start with the story, which is a fill in the blank. Then we have 5 activities that are going to be connected to the story, but we're gonna develop different types of skills on communication and storytelling for students to develop their communicative skills. So where are we using this tool? We know that stories have a really high impact on students and people's brain. It helps us attract and maintain students' information. It also helps us increase retention of information. It helps us boost students' imagination, and they provide a specific context for language in use. Therefore, we are using this series to support storytelling and story-based perspective and approach. So now I'm gonna give you a snapshot of some of the tools and strategies we use. Here you have compelling storytelling, and we are using engaging stories to introduce high frequency expressions. Our stories support communicative content, competence, and language and life skills. You will see here one of the stories that is Fire in the Park. In this story, you can start by presenting the story or asking students to predict the information with the different types of visuals that we have here. And then you can also play the recording of the story. You can play the audio, or you can read it with your students together. We also have some other strategies that students can do while covering the story. The stories on level A2 and some in level A1 also support life skills and discuss how students can overcome difficult situations, how students can find a way to turn a negative situation into a learning opportunity. There are many great stories that we have that not only help teachers teach English in this case, but also to reflect upon ways that students can solve real life situations and that can support their life skills. Our story-based activities explore micro and macro levels. So we focus on the vocabulary, but we also focus on the sequential organization of the events in the stories. We also cover the 4 skills because we also integrate them. You see here a model of the retell the story activity that allows students to practice communication and also storytelling. And they also have fill in the blanks and some of the activities that focus on vocabulary in context. But you have others that, for example, in this case, that cover logical and illogical. Um, you have the one that is a macro skill, that is how students will organize the different events in the story. This is a drag and drop activity. And then you have story-based questions, but in this case, they are in integrated way, because you see here a matching activity. You will see that they have to play the recording and match the story uh, according to what they read. So we have one example of integrated activities, and this is the retelling that also comes with specific rubrics for students to and teachers to assess their students' production. Um, so I hope it is clear, and we're gonna move to our next activity that is also part of our Storyscape series. That is our cross-curriculum content that includes projects. And you could, this is an example of a STEAM project where students will, talk about a tornado because it is related to different types of natural disasters. Then they will carry out an experiment using the knowledge that they have, and this is another way to support their curiosity-based learning, but also to integrate storytelling and topic in the story and expand it in different ways. This is one example. We also have social emotional learning. We have mindfulness. We have art projects. We have sustainable development projects too for every unit. So these are activities that students can do offline because we have the worksheets that they can work on. So it's another way to mix, digital learning with offline learning. These are some examples of our assessments. We have, as mentioned before, our vocabulary and grammar section that review expressions, and they provide plenty of practice. And the grammar sections are used to introduce the grammar concepts with contextualized practice. So here you have the sections, the specific vocabulary and grammar sections, and here you have an assessment on those grammar and vocabulary points that were covered in a specific unit. So in this case, we're assessing accuracy in the language use. I have a comment here. Let me see. Oh, thank you, Fabiola. So we also have the culture and connection sections that is also part of the previous series, the ESL series, but is also part of our Storyscape series. We have here up-to-date materials. We have native speakers interviews, but different from the ESL series, the speakers interviews include different types of accents from, native speakers of English from different parts of the world. So students will be exposed to different types of accents. This one is an example of the English, the panoramas where we are going to be exploring other countries. We have exploration of India, Australia, New Zealand, the United States, Canada. So students will have a broader cultural view and understanding of the world by using these culture and connection sections. This is we are exploring here falls in Ghana. So this is a topic and a unit that will be focusing on this country. It's pretty interesting because you learn so many things about other countries. So this is one of my favorite sections. Also, with all the culture and connection sections, the idea is to build the foundation for our students to develop authentic communication. So we provide this section of the foundation for practice, and we incorporate, apart from the grammar and vocabulary assessment that our students will be doing, we also incorporate the integrated performance assessment that will allow students to use language within a context and in an integrated way, because they will be using all modes of communication. So that is something that will add to students' experience of the language. This is one of the interpretive listening tasks that we have, and they are connected with, in this case, presentational writing, and it is the assessment is on the environment of a specific country, and they will be assessed by using different rubrics that we have for each task. So what are the supporting documents? We also have our supporting documents for Our Storyscape series. This is a sample scope and sequence for Unit 1, which you can also find right here. You have scope and sequence for A1 and A2. You also have a guide to use it to supplement your current curriculum if you already have one in place. This is the QR code that you can use for levels A1. If you want to go directly to the website and scan it, feel free to do it. I share the link to this presentation, and we'll be sharing them again too, so you can access that directly to assess the content and see if that would be a good fit for your students' reality and needs. And I hope you were paying attention because now I will talk about the teacher-friendly tool that probably you guys already heard about. So I'm just gonna, dive quickly into how we want to make grading more user-friendly and efficient for teachers. Um, so you know all the ways in which you can personalize your students' experience by assigning different types of tasks for either one student or a couple of students, and those who need more help, those who finish first, and you want to have them you want them to work or keep working. So you have plenty of different ways in which you can do that. Our experience, like Mike and Neil were discussing, depends on what type of experience you want to give your students. So you set the parameters for how you want your students to experience every task. And of course, doing this will save a lot of time for you. So this is a great picture that will allow you to have more time for yourself, because you will be using efficient assessment tools. We have auto-graded activities and teacher-graded activities that are very efficiently done. You can use our platform to assess your students' productions easily and saving a lot of time. So more time for you to focus on other things that you want to. We also have the tools that will allow you to support social learning. You have polls, you have the grouping tool that will allow you to split your students in different groups very easily. You have games that you can play collaboratively too. So a great way to support your classes. And In this is a search tool that will allow teachers to also find different topics for grammar or any specific theme that they want to do. You know, I think that was also covered by our team members yesterday. Just a quick review of how you can do it and where you can go to get it. Just go to tools, go to search. You can also print. And this is the fun part. So I hope you guys are ready for this. Part of our game center features trivia night, you decide, match. These are some of the games that we have available. But I like you to scan our QR code. You can scan this QR code. And these are the codes that I have designed for every question in relation to this presentation, and see how many questions you can get right. So we have every code is for every question. So we have a total of 6 questions. When you scan the QR code, like we're doing with Voces now, you will be taken to trivia nights. They will ask your information and you will access um, the game. Then you enter this code. The first code would be English 01, and you will be able to play again and answer a question and see if you can do it. Tell me if you are able to access the trivia night game. Let me know if you can access it. Tell me if you have any trouble entering. Let's see. Oh, okay. Well, the good thing about it, Fabiola, is that you can do it later. And on the presentation, you will see the QR code, and all the QR codes will take you to the different sites that I have listed. So that's not a problem. Okay. This is also a fun way to assess the information that we shared today with you, and have a great experience using some of the games. You can create trivia nights, and you can create the questions. All right. And oops, sorry. I don't know why it is sharing the 1 second. It is sharing the music, but it is not sharing. Okay. 1 second. Hopefully it works. Something is going on with Canva that it doesn't like. I'm just gonna share this information. Okay, there you go. So we also have different images that we use to support communication through images. You will find as part of the teacher resources, our graphic organizers to work with your students and use them to show what is similar and different, culturally in different ways, or specific concepts that you want to highlight. We also have our picture tool that also our team members talked about yesterday, that you can use to take pictures of your students' production. We also have exit tickets to assess students' ability and skills during or after every class. that you can also use. So our story-based curriculum and our different materials have been used and are used in the United States, Europe, and now in Latin America. We have 13 years supporting language educators. We have more than 400,000 language educators and students using Voces in the US, Europe, and Latin America. We are very, very careful in protecting students' privacy. So we have very strict safety measures that we take. So also that was covered also in more detail yesterday by Mike and Chris. Now I will show you a video of some of our students that are using our Voces platform, so you can also understand.
Hello, my name is Maria Fernanda Soruco, and now I am working with a digital book. I think that it is a good tool for me and my students, and because they can use their cell phones and computers, they can do different activities like listening to audios, watching videos, recording their
Let's see if we can play the full.
work with pictures, we work with videos, for example, and then activity number 2, number 3. In different activities, they can find videos and stories, and we can learn about different cultures.
I like the platform because it's more interactive and it's more fun working the phone. My favorite part is the easy to use.
My favorite part is easy to use and interactive.
Okay, sorry about the delay on the playing the video. But basically, this is a way to show you how our students are enjoying and teachers are enjoying our platform. And this is for English in this case. Also, before we finish, I'd like to invite you to our next big event that is going to be in 2024. It's going to be in Philadelphia. And you can use the QR code to register for a super early bird discount. And we hope to see you there on September 1st. It will be an in-person conference. And for those who attended the CA Summit, they know how awesome it was. So for the question about the treasure code for this session, there are 6. They are on our on this presentation. I'll share the link and you can also do it later on. Okay, so I don't know if there are any questions. We have a couple of minutes left, so let me know if there are additional questions in relation to these 2 series for English learners. Let me take a look at the chat. All right. So thank you for joining our session, Anna and Fabiola. You can drop your email on the chat if you need me to email you this presentation, or I can share the link to the presentation again right here. So you can review it later on if you need to. Okay. Sounds good. Okay, Anna, I am getting your information so I can email it to you as well. All right. So thank you so much. And I hope to see you in our next sessions.